Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome back. I'm James and you're watching Blue Dog Aquatics. Alright guys, today what we're doing is something a little special. We had an enclosure come to us. It was an arboreal snake enclosure. And for those of you that don't know what arboreal means, it's pretty much just a snake that likes to live up in the trees, like green tree pythons or carpet pythons. And there's many more. That's just two top of the ones that I can think of at the moment. But what we're doing is, like I said, we had an enclosure come to us that was in kind of rough shape, and so what we're doing is we're refurbishing it so that it looks nicer, and we'll start bringing it to shows, whether it's to hold chameleons or hold arboreal snakes or what have you, whatever we need it for that purpose. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alright guys, so this is the enclosure that we have here. You can see that we are outside. There's the trailer that we have, and there's a reason why we're outside right now, and that's because before we take, so it's this white color right now. It's really hard when you repaint on top of something else without properly cleaning it, and so I'll do actually a full walk around and then I'll explain why we are outside versus doing this inside. You can see we already have the vent holes on the sides. There's 4 vent holes. There's actually a vent hole on the top, and you can kind of see it. We already have a layer of masking tape right here, and that's because we're going to cover up the screen while we're painting it. The back's really solid, and then we have 4 more vent holes over here. You can see we have masking tape here. Now on the front here, it's actually an acrylic door that was cut in with a router. We have double locks on this side. Let's see if I can do this wall.
They need adjusted a little bit.
Yeah, we gotta adjust them a little bit. Oh, there we go, got it open. Now this was for the male green tree python. We did a video a little bit ways back on. This is the enclosure that was given with him, and I just really haven't done anything with him. But you can see it still has some chip bark in it. It's got a couple of logs that are just free swinging, and then we actually have mounted in bamboo. Yeah, pretty much dowel rods that have been modified to look like bamboo. Yeah, there's just branches and everything, and there's a bull down there. But we'll get all this fake stuff and everything removed, and as little as possible, because what we're going to do on the inside is we're actually going to tape over these holes so that the paint doesn't come on the inside, because we're not trying to redo the inside as far as paint, because we don't want all those paint fumes to affect whatever animal eventually goes in here. Now we'll scroll down here and I'll do a big overshot of what we have, but this is the paint that we're going to be using. It's a high performance enamel. Essentially we're doing a gloss paint job on the outside, and then this right here is lacquer thinner. This is why we were outside. Lacquer thinner removes paint. You see it in a lot of body shops, and what we're going to do is we're going to rub it down so that we get a nice clean surface to adhere the paint to. Anytime you're using this stuff, you want to make sure to use gloves. You want to make sure that you're in a well ventilated area, because this stuff can get really potent and we don't want anybody getting hurt. Alright guys, as you can see, we got the whole inside cleaned out. We're going to lacquer thinner it so that it's clean. And I want to emphasize, this is going to sit for quite a while. That way it gets proper ventilation before any animal goes in here. You can see also we taped off the vent holes. And now you may ask, well, how are you going to block off this big entrance if you're not going to paint the inside? Well, we have a solution for that, and that is a piece of plywood. And what we're going to do is, when we're painting the bottom, we'll just hold it tight, that way it doesn't come through, and then when we're painting the top, we'll just move it up. So easy, quick solution. That way you're not cutting out any additional stuff. You know, it's a scrap piece of lumber that I had laying around, and it does the job. But make sure to stay to the end so you guys can see this full finished project. you can see we're getting ready to lacquer thinner, so we can get into it.
It's not gonna hurt you.
All right, so what we're using here, you got the lacquer thinner. You just put some on the cloth, and then we are going to paint the vents. So we're just making sure that they're all clean, no foreign contaminants. Now, when I say that you should use gloves, it depends on your skin sensitivity. If you have really sensitive skin to chemicals, then definitely wear gloves. Myself and Joe, we don't, and so we don't typically use gloves when it comes to stuff like this.
Well, we've used lacquer thinner in commercial applications for several years. I used to remodel granite kitchens and things like that. So this is what we used a lot in cleaning surfaces and things of that nature. So
I spent many years in the mechanical world, and so, man, I was dousing my hands just to get all the oil out of my skin.
It will dry your skin a little bit, but
that's what lotion's for.
But I mean, to follow base directions on the can, we are not, you know, being chased down by OSHA, everything else. Definitely wear gloves if that's what you think you need to do. The instructions on the can say to do that. Do as they say, not as we do, kind of thing. So
you can see that we're just using, these are just everyday cloths, just rag cloths. They don't have to be anything special.
And you just want to be mindful of the material that you're working on as well. As lacquer thinner is somewhat corrosive on certain mild plastics, things like that, it can actually scar, deform, or flat out melt the finish. So you just kind of want to pay attention to what you're doing. Like I said, James and I have used this material or this chemical for a long time, so we kind of know the basic applications we can get away with without causing any real damage. But our main concern is just to take off any surface contaminants such as dust and debris to make sure we got a nice clean surface to adhere paint.
All right, guys, we got everything cleaned down, we got everything wiped down. Now the big thing, when you have rags that are doused in lacquer thinner, that's a flammable object, so you want to make sure to dispose of them properly. What I do is they go straight over here and they go right in my burn pit. Doesn't matter if they catch fire, they're gonna burn anyway. Now what Joe has here is he's setting up for the vent covers. We're gonna do them first, give them extra time to dry because they are metal, they're not wood, so it's gonna take a little bit longer for them. Not really. The type of stuff that we're using is really good, but now when you paint, you want to make sure that you go left or right, go across, do light coats, that way you're not getting the drippage from the paint and the overspray.
Doing it this way also makes sure you get a more even coating across the surface, whatever the material may be. If you just hold your finger on the button and just flat out go, you're going to run into a lot of overspray or an extra lot of paint where you don't necessarily want it, need it, or whatever. And let's face it, spray paint's not the cheapest stuff in the world. It's not terribly expensive, but everything costs money. And there you go, just do a last coat like that, and we let it dry.
Yep. And the biggest thing with the vents too is, you can zoom in, you see all the perforations, all the little holes in there. That's another reason why you don't want a lot of overspray, because you don't want to plug those vents. That's what's going to keep the ventilation in your enclosure to keep your animal with fresh air. And if you plug those up, well, it's going to restrict that. So we got a nice job here of all these, and we'll let them dry. And now we're going to get on to the big enclosure. Now Joe's going to walk you through this too. We'll start at the back. It's always a good thing to start with the back of the enclosure, because that way you can get your rhythm down of how you're painting, how it's going on. Because if you do it on the front, you don't like it, you're like, oh man. Well, guess what? If you don't like it to the point where you want to redo it, well, then you're back to the lacquer thinner, you're back to taking the paint off. But with the back, well, guess what? Nobody sees the back. So it's a good testing area.
I'm a big believer, I do my edges first. You don't have to do it this way. This is just the way that I prefer to do it.
It's like they taught you in grade school. Outline first and then fill in the middle.
Well, yeah. And like I said, and then you kind of fill in the field. You don't want to just, I mean, if you're good enough with the paint can, good on you. I prefer to still do the long sweeping motions and light coats and come back and fill where I need to. That way it cuts down on paint running, drippage, whatever. And yeah, you're still going to see a little bit of white, but this is 15-minute fast dry paint. It won't take anything for me to let this set up, come back and do, you know, another final coat just to make sure that all the gaps are filled. I mean, with this textured material here, you kind of look up here, I've already gone over it once. You see, you know, down deep into the grooves, it's still white. Well, we'll let the base dry, work itself with the primer, and we'll do it that way. At least that's the way I'm doing this.
Now, another reason why you want to do this outside in a ventilated area is because of the spray paint. This stuff gets everywhere. And here is a key example. I know it's kind of hard to see, but there is actually overspray down the side of the enclosure right now. And that will happen with any time you use spray paint. That's why whatever you don't want painted, you got to cover, wrap,
or remove from the space.
Or remove from the space. We actually, I can zip around to the front. You can see the door's gone. And that's because that's a big piece of acrylic that we don't want paint on. So it's easier for us just to remove it and have it better that way. You can see he's already half done. This stuff, I wish you could see it on the top. It's actually already starting to dry. And that's also because we have a nice day. Anytime you're painting, you want it to be warmer out, your paint's gonna set better and it's gonna dry quicker. If you do it on a colder day, and I'm no paint expert, but
the colder it gets, the longer the drying and curing times are gonna be. It may be dry to the touch. However, if the paint's not fully cured and it's cold, you can still get smudges and everything else from your fingers and the oil in your skin and things like that.
Yep.
I am not a paint expert either. That's speaking from, you know, previous experiences and being cheap and just spray painting things myself, as opposed to hiring professionals to do it.
Oh, exactly. And you can see these are already starting to set up. They're starting to dry really nice for us. We will not need a second coat on them. They're turned out really clear. Yep, they're all the way around the edges.
Nice. It's almost like
we'll finish up this little clip here, and then we will fast forward and jump to where we're doing the front of the enclosure, so you guys can see how we do that with the modified piece of wood to keep it out of the enclosure. Now you may ask yourself, why even bother going through the hassle of changing it from white to black? Why go through the expenses? Why go through all the headache of disassembling an enclosure that is clearly already ready for an animal? Well, I'll tell you why in just a second. All right, while we take a break from that, make sure, if you're enjoying this video, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll tell you what, guys, we have grown as a channel incredibly, and it would not be possible without all of you guys. We are at right around 1,100 subscribers, which I never thought that we would get to that point, but each Monday and Friday we're growing more and more, and that's thanks to you guys. So if you're enjoying these videos and you're new to this channel, make sure to subscribe so we can bring you new content every Monday and Friday. It's definitely been a dream of mine to show, you know, and educate everything that we do to help bring more knowledge to young people and help get them into the hobby and help them understand, you know, how to take care of these animals so that they can live the fullest life. So thanks for watching, and here we go, back to the show. All right, guys, before the break we told you we would explain why we go through the trouble of repainting, refinishing, redoing an enclosure. And that for us is so that they look nice, they look presentable, and we give the animal the best possible enclosure that they can have to live out the rest of their life. This one, I mean, yes, it was white and we went black. Okay, a couple $4 cans of spray paint, a couple, I think it was like a $5 or $6 can of lacquer, and, you know, a little elbow grease. Lacquer thinner, I'm sorry. Nothing major, you know, it's a very simple fix just to make it more presentable. And we're gonna start bringing this box to Aquashella, and so with everybody there, we just wanted to match our theme and we wanted to look more professional, and that's why we're going through the trouble. I wouldn't say trouble, but we're going through the effort of redoing this enclosure. So let's dip into it. It's come a long way, so here we go. All right, guys, you can see it may look a little white right here, and you're like, well, you missed the spot, but that's not the case. It is just the paint. It's 75 degrees out today, so the paint is doing a really good job of just drying really quickly. You can see all the vents right here. They're drying up nicely. I'm not going to touch them because I want to give them plenty of time to fully set. But now let's say that you don't like how this light look. Well, then I guess you're going to have to go with a gloss black. We went with, I think, a
matte black. Yeah,
we went with a matte black, so it doesn't have that super shiny look to it. But if that's what you're digging, well, then go with a gloss. This is just the way we like it. It's turning out really nice. We might hit it one more time just to make sure that we got everything, but you can see it's turning out very, very nice. Now you can see we're up here in the front. It's still white because I told you guys that we would show you how we were going to do this. And yeah, Joe's going to be the spray paint guy, and I'm going to hold. You can hear him shaking. Make sure to shake your paint, that way you don't get globs, and which, I mean, you still get globs, it happens, but
well, you just want to make sure it's evenly mixed.
Exactly. We're going to start here on the bottom, and all I'm going to do is take this board and hold it. This is keeping all the spray from going inside.
Yeah, and to keep the overspray from going over the top of the board, you can see here I stayed down a little bit, because if I go up right up to the edge of the board, well, there's going to be overspray in there, and that kind of defeats the whole purpose of this board entirely. So, to be 100% honest with you.
Now he is spraying the track because the track will be visible. So we want it all the same color. Heck, man, if you want to do a 4 different colors, well, I mean,
you want to do all the taping and make it rainbow, have at it. I mean, I don't discourage anybody from being themselves, doing things that, you know, make them happy, or be as creative as you want to. I mean, hell, if you want inspiration, go watch a Bob Ross video right before this. He's one of the greatest painters ever known. But I think that's what inspired me today. I watched a Bob Ross documentary on Netflix last night. Good stuff. And you can do the happy little trees and the happy little black spray paint and all that fun stuff.
Now, you can see we have a little bit that we still missed here on the sides down here, but we'll get that with touch up. We don't want to do a whole lot of overspray, so now we're going to switch to the top. You can see right there the black outline on the plywood, so it definitely did its job. There's no paint inside, so it was definitely mission accomplished. And there you have it, guys, all done, completed. Can see no black on the inside. That means our tape worked. We got the door all cleaned up and back on. It's crazy, it doesn't even look like there's a door here, but we can see we got all the vents back on. They turned out really well. Now, if you are getting something in an enclosure like this that might push these out, you might want to glue them in or silicone them in just to make sure that they don't have a little escape hatch. I got a couple snakes right now that like to play Houdini, but we catch them each and every time. So, but yeah, it turned out amazing. As always, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. And if you enjoy this, make sure to check out our website at www.bluedogaquatics.org. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're putting new and exciting stuff each and every week on there, so that way you can follow us step by step throughout our journey. As far as those of you that have been watching, you know that we've been working our way toward a store, and guess what? We have exciting news, and I'll drop a picture right here. What that is the signing of the lease for our new storefront. We are super excited. This has been a goal of mine since I was a kid, and I am so happy. Right now they're working on construction to get everything that we need for our needs for the building. They're telling us about 3 to 6 weeks, hopefully on the 3-week side, so we can get in and start advertising our new and exciting animals. But as always, thanks for watching, and the big question, your tank or mine?